Welcome to a global episode of the Modern Moron.
Я клянусь в верности флагу Соединенных Штатов Америки
You hear that?
и республики.
That's a colleague of mine and a friend who immigrated to the United States with his family from the Ukraine when he was 9 years old in the early 90s. What's that he's reciting? It's the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States of America. Put that in your borscht bowl and drink it, Putin.
Don't be rude.
Sorry. Do I ask him about his views on immigration and the Trump southern border wall? Of course not. That would have been an intelligent question, though, wouldn't it? We talk about life growing up in the Ukraine and how he relates that childhood to that of us baby boomers with a black and white TV and 3 channels. He works in IT, and we have a chat about data and how your data is being collected, which is reminiscent of our last episode in the documentary, The Great Hack on Netflix. That was your homework assignment, and I assume you did it, right? Don't tell me your dog ate it. We also talk about Russia and how they've been causing divisions in this country for decades, not just the last election. We discuss Google and its contemporaries who are collecting a whole lot of data about us round the clock and what you can do about it by using a VPN, which stands for Virtual Private Network. Don't be scared of it. It's just another service like your wireless bill. And I'll tell you at the close how using a VPN can actually save you money on airline tickets and hotels if you travel. There are a lot of links at the bottom of the description of this episode. I hope you find even one of them useful. We discuss social platforms as well, like Facebook, Twitter, and even throw in Amazon there, and how they're constantly tailoring your experience to give you what they think you want. And they're good at it. Why? So you'll enjoy their experience more than another app, because we've become accustomed to having information we don't like sifted out, even if part of what you don't like is reality. So please be careful, or at least try to be conscious of what's being funneled at you when you use these applications. My comrade is a conservative. Yeah. And he has some interesting points, such as it increasingly takes more effort to think for yourself, especially when it comes to news. He refers to Donald Trump as a byproduct of our politicians over the past 10 or 20 or 100 years. Do you think Trump would love to be referred to as a byproduct?
I have no doubt about it.
He thinks it was an FU vote to the political system. Maybe it was. Also, I recorded this on my phone outside, and it doesn't have quite the quality that we're used to, but I think it works okay. I'm eating borscht for breakfast with my comrade from the Ukraine on The Modern Moron. Where are you from originally?
The Ukraine.
Ukraine. Is it still called the Ukraine? This is how stupid I am. No?
Ukraine.
Ukraine.
Yeah.
What is it bordered by? If it still exists.
It's the doormat of Russia. You might hear it referred to as that.
The doormat. Even Ukrainians?
Mostly Russians will refer
to Ukraine as the doormat of Russia.
Yeah, especially now that they're more independent.
They're just jealous.
Yeah. There's like a lot of animosity between the two, even though they're like the same people. It's like North and South California, if they were to.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? It's silly. It's the same.
Same thing. And how old were you when you left Ukraine?
I was 11 years old, and left in 1994.
What was it like in Ukraine from like 9 years old to 11? Same as here? Like day-to-day life, the same, different?
No, I actually have more in common with someone's childhood from like the baby boomer generation.
Okay.
Because I literally grew up with like a black and white TV with a manual switch, 3 channels, right? 3-4 channels. I'd leave like at 9 a.m. and come back at 10 or 9 p.m. and parents would not know where I am the whole day, right? You just get out there on the weekend.
You're
right?
Gone for the weekend.
Yeah,
parents don't know.
Yeah, like, and from what I hear, that's how it used to be here back in the day. It's just like there wasn't no helicopter parenting.
So when you came rolling in at 9 or 10 at night, you're 9 or 10 years old.
Yeah.
Mom and dad don't say, "Hey, where have you been?"
Yeah, they're like, "Eat your borscht."
Eat your borscht.
Your borscht gold.
And were you getting into trouble?
Yeah. You know, maybe running around construction sites, you know, doing stupid stuff.
But nothing you get arrested for. You could get arrested for it here.
Oh.
But back there, it's like cops don't have time for that.
Oh,
they tell you to get the hell out of there.
Oh, you just you probably break like 20 laws getting to work here. You know, so many laws here.
Right.
Right.
But in Ukraine,
Yeah.
if you can get there and you're still alive,
Yeah.
no laws broken, no blood, no foul.
Yep. Yeah.
How many brothers and sisters?
Just one sister.
One younger or older?
Younger.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you come over here, you're 11. Did you come out to California initially, or?
Yeah. This is the Eastern European hub.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Is there a lot of?
It's a huge population here. So it's probably like New York, here, and then like LA. And I don't know which one's got the most.
The neighborhood you live in, without naming it, is it a high concentration? Or
not really.
Not really.
My previous neighborhood, I just
was.
recently moved. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it?
Well, actually, where we work here is even a larger concentration.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a cultural? Cause culturally, it's like World Cup soccer. All of a sudden, everybody's sort of pulling out the banner of their country, and is it that way for your? Like, you have 2 kids, right?
Yeah.
And do you rely on your family for some daycare stuff, or that is independent?
It's like a hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we got daycare, and then we rely on them as well. But the expectation is there.
Mm-hmm.
Usually is like Eastern Europeans, they tend to like stick closer together, and so you don't really tend to see kids move to different states or different cities. They're just like
Stay put.
Yeah, they pretty much stay put.
What was the political climate there? You probably didn't pay attention to it.
Yeah.
What is it? What is your perception of it there now? Like we're talking
what is
about,
it now?
like,
Okay.
for example,
Yeah.
I've got a podcast. I can say whatever I want. I can say whatever I want about the president.
Right.
What happens if you do that in Ukraine?
Oh, you didn't have the platform. Right now, you have a lot more of a platform there.
And you can say there's freedom of speech there?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
What about Russia?
Not so much. I mean, I just saw a video of some guy literally in Russia with a Russian flag talking about, I don't know what he was talking about exactly. I didn't see the full video, but he was literally getting arrested by police, taken into a van just because he was just speaking out, and they didn't even care what he was saying. They just took him in.
And he probably won't be seen again?
He will be, but he'll know better not to do
He'll
that.
be missing a couple of fingers.
Yeah, he'll know better not to do that again. Yeah.
So you don't have freedom of speech in Russia?
No, it's been pretty crazy. Well, Putin has brainwashed the mass population there into believing that he's the best. What he's trying to do is look out for their interest, and he's the best guy to do that. And you need a strong arm to do that. He's convinced them that they need a strong-armed ruler, basically. That they can't handle democracy, they can't handle the Western way of life. So, and they've kind of bought into that.
They've bought into it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, instead of using the term fake news, I'm just going to say propaganda, which has been through Europe and Asia and the United States for a long, long time, centuries, decades at least.
Yeah.
He also, either by f***ing around with the 2016 election and currently, sort of keeping the United States, keeping infighting going on. He's promoting infighting amongst Americans by either politically liberal conservative or racially.
Oh, that's been happening since like the 60s or something.
Sure. That Russia's been doing it?
Yeah, they've been doing that back when,
How were they doing it back then?
Just getting agents in here and inciting, activism on either side. Like back here when we had like issues with sort of like the African American, and all that, they were inciting all that kind of stuff, all that conflict on both sides.
So you've been over here for most of your life, certainly your entire adult life. How often do you go back, or do you go back?
Yeah, I went back like 3 times now. So that's always interesting to see.
What do you know? Do you think, oh, maybe I should move back here? The pace of life is better, or do you say to yourself, wow?
No, I just kind of go like, wow, what is this place? I mean, what I've noticed is it's a lot more commercialized now. So you are starting to see sort of like the roots of the free market and capitalism take hold a little bit more. But the biggest issue there is corruption and
government
corruption and corruption in general. It's just, you know, when you can't trust that the law is going to be on your side or protect you, then it's just anything goes. You know, people buy degrees, people buy driver licenses, people buy doctors or whatever. You know,
really?
Yeah, there's just like, I mean, recently Ukraine has stepped it up, so they've increased how much they pay like police officers, right?
Oh.
Just to kind of prevent some of that, you know.
Wow.
Under the table, you know, bribery and all that.
Yeah. And over here, would you consider yourself, you don't have to consider yourself either, would you consider yourself more liberal or more conservative?
Yeah, I'm somewhere like more like a conservative / libertarian.
Okay.
You know, so it's kind of like the Rand Paul kind of like approach, where non-interventionist, government isn't going to solve all your problems. It has an important function, but just let it do its limited function and let like the states and the local government decide your fate, sort of thing.
Do you think Trump is thumbs up or thumbs down on him? I'll give you my take on Trump.
Yeah.
My take on Trump is terrible president, wrong guy for the job, but maybe the right person for this time, whether we know it or not. It's like, to get things to be better, sometimes it has to be initiated by something bad. Like, I don't know, the Boston Tea Party starts the revolution. You know what I mean?
Well, he's the reflection, right? He's the byproduct of a long. It's not like he just popped out of nowhere. He's the byproduct of a lot of things that were happening at the same time, in the political culture and in
Drain the swamp.
In the actual culture, yeah. And so he's just the byproduct of that. But I mean, to me, I look at it. I'm not a very principled voter. So to me, I look at it this way: which way is the pendulum going? And if it's going towards the side that has a net positive for me, net positive outcome, then, you know, he's the collateral damage. That's fine. You know, I'll vote for the guy if he's going to move that pendulum towards the right, towards more libertarian or conservative ideas, right? Or even keep it in the same spot.
Right.
Yeah, terrible president though.
Yeah, I would like to see our president have a little more integrity, traditional integrity. But, you know, I have to keep in mind that whenever he says or does something that to me is appalling, I have to remember that half the country is just raising their fist in the air saying, America, right? They love it.
Either that or somebody like me doesn't even take him seriously, right? It's like you'll see these people take a quote from him and go, but you said you're gonna do that, and I'm like, really, dude? Like, you really thought he was gonna do that? Are you stupid?
You thought he was gonna follow through on something he said?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. People like me have never taken him seriously. He was just an FU vote, right, to the political system, you know, and then really the net positive is that a lot more people are politically involved, you know. And
yes.
There's a backlash, and he's really testing the balance of powers, right? He's testing all the different branches of government, which is great.
That's why I feel he's the wrong person for the job, but maybe the right person for the time to, like, look at what the hell we're doing. Yeah. But, I mean, you work hard for your family, and you're acquiring some wealth, especially compared to, like, your standard of living compared to if you stayed in Ukraine. Yeah. And you like that. You want to keep that.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
What do you think of I've heard this before. I think Pete Buttigieg, who's a Democratic candidate running right now, has said he doesn't understand why, and that Democrats need to reclaim, and I don't think it's just Republican or Democrat, but he says, you know, how is it that the Republican Party somehow has a monopoly on patriotism? Like, if you're not toting a gun and wearing red, white, and blue, then you're a commie. If you don't wear red, white, and blue, then you just wear red. You know what I mean? Like, the Republican Party is kind of genius. Yeah. Claimed the patriotism for the whole country, and that's not true. There are plenty of Democrats who've served our country and all that.
Yeah, I've actually thought about this as well, because if you kind of go back in time, none of the parties had this kind of like angle right on each other, because you were just as much of a patriot as when you were a Democrat, right? But the Republican Party has created that perception for sure, and I don't think it's fair. No, I don't agree with it, and I do think both parties are like they work in these sound bites, right? And then
Yes.
it completely discourages any real dialogue, you know? And so like, it's either you're with us or you're against us, you love America or you hate America, and that's it, kind of a thing, you know? Or you're a bigot and I'm not gonna talk to you, or you're a racist, or you're whatever, you know? So it's like, both sides are kind of using these short sound bites to basically...
To incite the other side.
Yeah, and just discount the... just use that as an excuse to not listen to what the other side has to say, right?
Do you think some of those sound bites are not coming... is not a volley being lobbed from a Republican side to a Democrat side, or vice versa, but it's getting lobbed into our society from Russia?
It's sort of like Google right now, right? It's going away from giving you real search results, and it's giving you search results that you would prefer to see. So it's kind of like all these social platforms and all these sources of mass information are all geared to do that, and so they're perpetuating this notion just to extreme amounts. All these social platforms, because what they want to give you personalized information, because you're more likely to enjoy that platform and like the information that you're receiving. So this whole notion gets perpetuated just 1,000-fold on all these platforms.
Rather than let me look at what and let me decide, they're just going to push all the stuff that they think I want to see.
Yeah, exactly. So so your Google feed, you're going to start seeing stuff that's going to make Trump or Republicans or look better, or make Democrats look stupid or something, or wrong,
or vice versa.
And so it really takes an effort. Like, I'm trying to do this myself, is I'm trying to listen to some of the talking heads or leaders in on the opposite side, right, and see what they're saying and look at their ideas.
Ever since I did the first episode of this podcast, I've always said, whatever news story you look at, what is the news source?
Yeah.
If it's Facebook, it ain't news. Right? If you're going to look at Fox News, then look at CNN.
Right.
And vice versa. Or I really pay attention to my news sources. I look at Reuters, Associated Press. They're probably not going to use incendiary verbiage that's going to suggest that's something that Trump did was horrific.
But I think like actual real reporting is almost dead in this country.
It seems like it, huh?
And
there's always an angle.
Yeah, there always is a motivation or an angle, and every story is almost like pitched in such a way to where they're trying to sell you on some idea. Even like the titles of these stories, right?
Yeah.
And all that. It's like all you have to do is rephrase it, and then you're not going to really promote one or the other idea. It increasingly takes more effort now to really think for yourself and like read that story, take a step back and go like, all right, what about the other side, or
how would they word that same headline?
Yeah, that's tough.
I think you hit upon it by saying it takes more effort now, and people want to put in less effort.
Yeah,
they want it in 10 seconds, like that soundbite. They want to move on with their next dopamine rush of hitting their phone or swiping left or swiping right or whatever it is. But the fact is, we got to do our homework a little more. Even old farts like me have to pay attention. You can't just ignore Google. It's going to be in my life and stay in my life. Let me ask you this. If you're going to look at news, and I think I unfortunately might know part of the answer to this. If I go on Google, signed in with my Gmail address, and open the Google News, will I see different headlines and stories than if I go on to Google with sign out of Gmail and then go to the same site? Will I get a different set of stories?
You sure will, but they'll be actually similar, because at this point Google's got so much information about you and your computer and how you access internet and when, that they'll still know it's you.
Yeah, even if I sign out, if I'm signing in from the same IP
unless
address.
You're like, completely anonymous.
Which a lot of people don't know what they hear IP address, but it's just a number that's the same as it's a physical location, right? Exactly. An IP address.
Yep.
So if I sign out of whatever I've signed out of, but I'm still using the same IP address, which is the same as is a physical address, it's incorporated that into its algorithms.
Oh yeah.
And is going to send me the same stuff.
Yeah.
So is there a way to objectively or anonymously, I guess, access the internet? I've switched over to DuckDuckGo.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know, does that help at all?
There's things like virtual private tunnels where it'll actually, anytime you use this application, it'll basically randomize your IP address and make Google think like you're coming from Dakota or something, or Texas or somewhere else. And so it'll confuse Google probably. You won't know what to give you. So you might get more neutral results. But even Google's probably skewed, right? I mean, politically, it's not probably a...
I don't know. You would think initially, because Google's in California, in Silicon Valley, your immediate response is, oh, they're liberal.
Yeah.
But they're also big business.
Yeah.
Sort of like Facebook.
Yep.
It's liberal because it's in the same place geographically, but whenever the Pentagon knocks on Facebook's door and says, hey, we want to find out about this person, I think I read a statistic like over 95% of the time, they, look at what we have. So there's some relationships, and if there's money to be made, that can flip a Democrat to a Republican pretty fast.
Yeah, I think their public profile, they want to seem like they're, open-minded and fair and all that stuff.
Well, there you have it. That was kind of interesting, wasn't it? We're going to get my comrade back on to discuss some of the political issues going on in the Ukraine. Very interesting stuff going on there right now. Also, did you like the way I referred to the Ukraine as Ukrainia while we were talking at the beginning? Yeah, what an idiot. I hope you found something in there interesting, and even better, I would love it if you're a liberal or a Democrat and found something you can nod your head in agreement over, like the fact that we all need to put a little more effort into thinking for ourselves when it comes to news, politics, and social issues. Virtual private tunnels or virtual private networks, VPNs. Don't be afraid of that term. This moron has you covered. It means this. You connect to the internet with your IP address that your computer has. It then connects to a network that gives you, or you choose, a different IP address that cannot be traced back to the computer sitting under or on your desk. It sends you onto the internet from a different city, state, or even a different country. That gives you more privacy as to tracing where you've been. That can be especially important when you're using your phone on a public Wi-Fi system like at Starbucks. And check this out. If you travel, you might be able to get cheaper airline tickets and even hotels by using a VPN. You think the price is the same for a flight purchased in New York or Los Angeles compared to purchasing it in a country with a lower cost of living like Austria, Malaysia, or Chile? Why did I pick those countries? Not only do they have a low cost of living, they're also on a list of the world's cheapest and safest countries to retire or visit. There will be a link for this stuff as well below. Lots of links below. I'm also aware that lately my intros and closing comments are getting longer and longer, and okay, I'm aware of it. Stop yelling at me. Just remember to look at your part when you go online. If you know where you stand on an issue, you should not only listen to opposing views without the intent of changing anyone's mind, but just listen with a little empathy if you can muster it, and think for a second where that opinion might have come from. It may not be from the opposing political party, but instead from an outside party that wants to see this country divided. And if it comes from Facebook, it's not news. It's the world's best place for gossip and playing the telephone game. And remember that it's free. When something is free, you are the product. Okay? I'm glad to see that my little speech has corrected all the faults of others, and now we're all getting along. My work here is done. See you next time, moron lovers.